And I really do think we could win the treble with this. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Ali on Madrid. And today I'll be talking to you about how Real Madrid should line up in the 2026-2027 season. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Alright, so how Real Madrid should line up. I have had it as two different lineups over here. I think it'll be interesting to see how the summer kind of goes. I mean, there's a chance Vinny Jr. might stay, Vinny Jr. might go. So based off that, I made two different lineups, one with Vinny Jr., one without Vinny Jr. So the first one, I kept it as a 4-3-3 formation, and either way, whether Xabi Alonso stays or we bring in a new manager, we'll kind of see how it goes. But I'm going to keep it as a 4-3-3 formation with Vinny, Rodrigo, and Mbappe kind of being the front three, and I'm just going to assume that Xabi Alonso is still the manager. And then I think Tchouaméni still should line up there. He's a really good destroyer, I think, in the back. He's not the I guess like the modern day six, right? Because he's not necessarily distributing the ball out. He's not necessarily very good on the ball for that matter. He's very slow, but he is very, very good. Just being a destroyer, kind of in this area of the pitch. He's obviously gives very good defensive cover. He does have his slip ups. He's obviously did not. He had a pretty good 2025 actually, but he didn't have a very good game against Sevilla on the last day of 2025. But overall he's been pretty good. We're gonna go. So we're just gonna keep it simple, right? Trent's going to be our right back. I think that kind of remains. Carreras is our left back. And then I think this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting, right? So it's that third midfielder and it's the two center backs. So I think because we signed Housen, I think people are being a little too impatient with him. I mean, he is only 20 years old. He did start off the season pretty good. He was really good in the Club World Cup. He's just kind of struggled recently. He had some injuries, among other things. He's struggled. He's obviously very good on the ball. And with more experience, he's going to get better. So, he's going to stay. Now, in an ideal world, and I'm going to assume this is an ideal world here, I'm going to keep Militao as the other center back. The only problem I have with this is that he's very injury prone. That's the biggest problem with him. I think if he was not as injury prone, we would be having a completely different discussion. He would be the first name on this sheet, to be honest, because of how good he is. He's just so injury prone, but I'm going to assume that next year we're going to sign good enough depth so we're not running him into the ground every single week. That's all I can hope for, right? He's the perfect complement to Housen. Housen's a ball-playing center back, right? He likes to step up, distribute those passes out to the attackers, to the midfielders, and Militao kind of stays back, and he's the aggressive. He's the more aggressive center back that goes in for the tackle, goes in for the challenge, and they kind of complement each other really, really well. I know I saw some things about Nico Schlotterbeck, potentially being an option for us to sign. I don't know if that would be. I mean, obviously he's elite, right? He's an elite center back, but he kind of plays the exact same role as Housen does. So what was really the point of signing Housen at that point? He's 20 years old, right? So I think it's better to just let him have some time to develop. While signing a guy like, maybe Mark Yehi from Crystal Palace. I think he could be a very good complement to Housen. We should also sign another few more center backs, just to give us some more depth over here. And then this is kind of the really big key position, so I'm just going to be real with you. I think we should sign Adam Wharton. I don't know if that will happen or not, but I think this profile in general is what we should be looking for. That deep lying playmaker, somebody who's very good on the ball, who is, press resistant. He's able to deliver passes, kind of all around the pitch. And yeah, he's, we just need a profile like that. So if it's not him, I know I posted a short about Ruben Neves potentially being an option. I think he could be a fantastic option over here as well. He'll just be more short term than he is long term. So maybe him, but I don't know. I know Keith Smith has been linked, so I think another option I could see is if we did sign Keith Smith. I think we could sign Ruben Neves as well. Ruben Neves is kind of the starter, and then Keith Smith kind of gets to learn behind Ruben Neves. But as of right now, I think that will give us the best midfield stability because he kind of acts like that destroyer, kind of in the back over here, giving the defensive cover to these defensive players. Trent can step up. Carreras can step up. Obviously we are very aware of what he's all able to do on the ball, switching the play among other things. And then with this front three, I know it's not worked in the past, but I think having a guy like him, just being able to hold the ball, being able to slow down and speed up the game, I think we'll be able to do so much more with this front three. And for example, he is just waiting on that cutback that everybody likes to mention about him. He's not acting like that striker. Rodrigo can cut in, right? Rodrigo can, make those runs. I know Vinny has been kind of playing centrally recently. He's been pretty good, I won't lie. I think his positioning has been fantastic. And then obviously we have Jude. Jude is, a very good 8, but he could also act as the box crasher as well. But this formation, this gives us width on the pitch, right? I mean, we get a lot more width on the pitch. We get a lot more control on the ball, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 players who are excellent, I think, at keeping possession. So this would work very, very well with Xabi Alonso's system. And then he's a very good ball progressor. He's also a very good ball progressor. So I think we have a lot going for us if this is how we lined up in 2026, 2027. The other option I have is this, right? So this is assuming Vinny Jr. leaves. And so we potentially have, this kind of, we would go back to the diamond essentially. So again, we'll go back to the same logic over here. Howson stays where he is. Militao stays where he is. We sign plenty of center back depth. We need center back depth. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Carreras, and then Tchouaméni. I think this is a very intriguing lineup to me because, and I'll tell you in a second. And then we would have in this situation, I think you could have Valverde or Camavinga, but for this example, I'm going to use Valverde, and then going to use, again, Adam Morton. So pretty much that midfield diamond that we had in the 23-24 season, and essentially instead of Vinny and Rodrigo, we have Mbappe and Rodrigo. It's interesting because I think in possession, you could essentially have Trent and Carreras kind of step up into these wide areas, and then you can have pretty much Tchouaméni step back, and this becomes a back three, allowing us to have, kind of a lot of control in the midfield over here. And then he is able to provide us with so much width on the right side of the field over here. He could become an inverted, he becomes an inverted fullback, right? He could be potentially playing in the midfield. You could have Jude kind of drifting to the left over here, or you could have Jude kind of acting as the box crasher. You could have Mbappe kind of giving us width on the left over here. The Carreras can kind of survey this area, but this gives us, this becomes a very, very interesting lineup, I think. I don't know, I think it gives us a lot of options. I think it gives us a lot of control in the midfield. And it works really, really well, I think, with Xabi Alonso, what he wants to do at least. I mean, I'm not sure, right? He might not be the manager come next year. It might be, people are saying Jurgen Klopp. I don't know about that. I don't know if Jurgen Klopp's going to come in. Zidane, I know Zidane's another option that people are saying. I know I heard something along the lines of, he's obviously still waiting for that France job, but if he doesn't get it, he might come back. Either way, I think the things we are going to need are going to be center back depth, and we're going to need that deep lying playmaker either way, because no matter who we have at manager, they can only do so much if we don't have, much center back depth. If our entire back line is injured the entire year, what do you expect a coach to do? And what do you expect a coach to do if there's not the correct profiles in the midfield, right? Like, for example, we have a player, who's very good defensively. We have a player, who's the road runner, I guess the best way to call it. And then you have Jude, who can kind of do a little bit of everything. But we need a specialist in this area of just being press resistant, being able to distribute the ball out properly, being able to, be a good playmaker, in that deep position. So I guess we'll see. And I mean, I don't know. I think this lineup is intriguing, right? Because I do think we could win the treble with this lineup potentially if we have enough depth. So, well, there you have it. There's my quick breakdown on how we should line up in the 2026-2027 season. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment, and let me know your thoughts. And I'll see you next time.